got Dr. Shweta joining us in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you, Bianca. Thank you for having me again here.
Yes, it's been 9 months since you were here.
Yeah.
And we previously talked about the significance of food in Ayurveda and mindful eating, having prayer and gratitude before we eat, just to sort of calm the system and get centered, and talking about the pathway to wellness. So that was 9 months ago. So I thought we would catch up again, and if you could share some recipes with us to, let us know what helps our digestive system and foods that help us strengthen the immune system, all the above.
Yes, absolutely. Indeed, it's been a long time, and to summarize, we spoke about spiritual aspects of the food, and today's topic is all about recipes which are easy on our digestive system and foods to boost our immune system. And essentially, both of these are dependent on what we call is our digestive fire. So we call it Agni in Ayurveda, and that is all responsible for our health, for our immunity. Immunity is nothing but our ability to resist disease, or even when we are diseased, our ability to heal ourselves. And the main line of treatment, according to Ayurveda, is all focused on improving the digestive fire of that person. So Ayurveda has recommended a range of dietetics or foods that are very good and soothe your digestive system, because essentially that's the place where the food which we consume is going to be converted into a microchyle or ahara rasa, or the essence of which can be absorbed by all the different elements of our body. And Pathya Kalpana is also called as Ayurvedic dietetics, and the word, if we translate it into English, it means something that is wholesome for the channels, because that's the place through where the nourishment flows in our body. So all the recommendations, food preparations which will help you to maintain your health as well as treat a disease are recommended under this umbrella called as Pathya Kalpana or Ayurvedic dietetics. And there are some foods which we can have on a regular basis. For example, rice, mung dal, best among fruits is grapes. Vegetables, especially amongst the vegetables, also the fruit vegetables are good. Regular consumption of ghee, milk is all what is recommended by Ayurveda. And regular inclusion of spices in our foods are also a way of improving immune system and also making the food really easy to digest. So if our digestive fire is very low, then we tend to eat something which is more in the form of a soup or gruels until it is slowly improved. We can't burden it, because otherwise a lot of task on the digestive system is to digest the food. So slowly improving it with small sticks, just like a small fire, we add small twigs, and then it becomes big enough. Then we put in logs. The same way, we have to improve our digestive fire with simple foods and easy on stomach, like rice gruels or lentil soups or vegetable soups for that matter, and even meat soups. Of course, meat is something which is a lot people think that it is not recommended by Ayurveda. It's not like that. Meat soups are especially recommended for people to build in more strength if they are emaciated or have lost weight, or recovering from very chronic illnesses in the form of maybe cancer patients or deteriorated patients, or people who have starved a lot, all those things. So the whole purpose of Ayurveda is to understand the person whom you are treating, whether he's healthy or imbalanced. If he's healthy, then how to maintain his health, and if it is imbalanced, then how to get him back to his constitution. So all the things which are recommended are in this context. And so we have rice soups for people who cannot digest the whole rice as such, and slowly increasing the thickness of that soup, and then coming to cooked rice, or then vegetable stirred fried rice. Those things are recommended. And in the form of lentils, the best lentil recommended by Ayurveda is mung dal or mung beans.
Is that the green and orange one?
Green and yellow.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's not very different. The green ones are the whole ones. You have to soak them if you have to use them prior. Like overnight soaking is required for them. And the yellow ones are the split ones,
Yes.
which are easy to cook.
Yeah.
So, and there is another one which is green and split.
Yeah, that's the one I meant. Green and yellow together.
Yeah.
Right. That's the best, is it?
All three of them are good.
All three.
Yeah. So, but the beans, because they are whole, they take time to be soaked. So they may be they take a little time to cook. So if you have to be prepared. You have to soak them overnight and then cook it. But otherwise, you can roast them before cooking to make it cook faster. And yeah, there are again processings Ayurveda has recommended in order to make a certain foodstuff which is heavy to digest, to make it more lighter to digest. So
yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, like a lot of people say they have started soaking their legumes, lentils, beans overnight. A lot of people didn't know that. Sort of years ago, I remember we'd sort of make lentils and just put them in boiling water, or I'll give them a rinse, put them in boiling water, cook them, and it was very heavy on the stomach.
Yes.
And then after soaking them, we notice our system, our body tells us, okay, well that was lighter, I don't feel bloated. We've got to listen to our body.
Yes. And another aspect what Ayurveda recommends is, amongst the lentils, there are some lentils which you can use regularly and some lentils which should be used less regularly because heavy to digest. For example, I use this simple idea of using, the smaller the size of the lentil, the easier it is to digest.
Yes.
So
makes sense.
Yeah, so those lentils it is recommended to have every day. It's okay, it won't create any problem. But the lentils which are bigger in size, like chickpeas or kidney beans or aduki beans, they are heavier to digest. So it's not that you should not consume them, but you should consume them less regularly. And when you are very hungry, probably lunch is the best time to have those things. So if we look at some considerations and if we are mindful of these things, and we may be able to eat all of the things in moderation and still be healthy.
Now, just I want to backtrack. Before you said eat the fruit veg, do you mean like cucumber and tomato? We think it's a vegetable, but it's considered a fruit because it's got the seeds. Is that what you mean?
Basically, with fruit vegetables are in the form of they come in the form of fruits. So, for example, gourds, bottle gourd, bitter gourds, or ridge gourds. They are more available in India, and here also they are available, but mostly in Indian stores. But you find them in Jeps Cross and Central Market as well. And winter melon. Have you heard of winter melon or ash gourd? Now is the season.
I have.
Now is the season of that, and it's one of the best vegetables.
How do you spell that? Ash.
ASHGOURD.
Where do we get that in Adelaide?
In Central Market, in Jeps Cross. I have bought sometimes. And even in farmers market mostly. Asians use them a lot, and nowadays even Western people have started using it. It's like a watermelon. It looks like huge, but it's white in color inside.
Yellow or white? I only said yellow because I've seen yellow ones that look like watermelon, but it's yellow, but it's white, you're saying?
They are more like pumpkin if it's yellow, but then I am talking about ash gourd, which is purely white in color. Right. It doesn't have much taste, so it can blend with most of the things which you make. So I'm a South Indian, and we usually make curry preparations with them, lentils and vegetables put together, which we call it as sambar. And it's a good combination because it enhances the taste of that particular preparation. It doesn't have its own taste, so it's good to use it like that. Or using it in the form of buttermilk curries. When in cold season you cannot eat a lot of yogurt because it's heavy to digest. So buttermilk is something made out of yogurt by adding water to it and blending it to a consistency of milk, adding some spices to that and cooking with it. So this is also, and you can add vegetables in that while cooking. So ash gourd is very commonly used in the form of buttermilk curry.
Now, are you an advocate for sprouts? Like, I've heard that sprouts, like you get your lentils and your legumes, everything we've been talking about, and you soak them in water overnight, and then the next day you put them in sort of a mason jar with a sieve lid, so you screw on the lid and it's got like a sieve so air gets in, and then people rinse it morning and night, do it for a few days, and then the beautiful sprouts come, like alfalfa sprouts, etc., and it's loaded with vitamins and nutrients. And it's, someone said if you have a 1 cup of radish sprouts, it's the equivalent of eating 9 cups of sprouts. So you're eating less, easy to digest, and high nutritional value. Now, I've been getting into it for 2 weeks. Love it.
What is your experience? Is it easy to digest?
I love it.
Probably you have a good digestive fire, because whatever I'm going to talk is in context what Ayurveda recommends.
Right.
And in my personal experience also, because one food, not the same food suits everyone. So idea is to think here that sprouting is a very good processing we do on the foods, because as I told you before, if your digestive fire is low, then probably you stick to more of mung bean soups.
Yeah.
If your digestive fire is little better, then you can actually make a dal out of it. If your digestive fire is still good, then you can soak them and then grind them to a batter like a pancakes. We call it mung dal dosa. Yeah, we called it actually mung dal dosa. And another way of eating these lentils is in the form of sprouting. So you soak them, then let them sprout. People consume them raw also, but I would say that it's good for people whose digestive, it's good for everyone, but you need to able to process it. Raw foods are a little bit difficult for people whose digestive fire is low, so we need to be mindful of a person, how is his digestive fire. So it's a very good thing, I would recommend, but then only if you can digest it. So and the best time to have sprouts is probably the daytime, not avoid them having at night. Really? That's what Ayurveda recommends. And if people who are not able to digest the raw sprouts, they can have cooked sprouts, like just steamed or seasoned with a little bit of spices, so that it's easy on stomach. So there's nothing you cannot make use of without processing. So processing is one of the principles used in Ayurvedic nutrition to make the food easier to digest if you want to include something in your diet.
Yeah, wow. This all makes sense. Thank you.
Welcome.
And okay, so you mentioned earlier some spices that are good for anti-inflammation, and then you discussed before we started the program the more cooling herbs. Can you just sort of touch on that?
Yeah. So basically I was talking about immunity, and in that context I think we talked about these things. And as mentioned before, immunity is a byproduct of digestive fire. So if your digestive fire is good, you'll have good immunity, because whatever you're going to eat, that will be converted into your tissues in a proper way. And the essence of all the tissues is ojas. You must have heard of this word. Ojas is something which is responsible for our immunity. Now, if
I don't know what it means though, can you just, I've heard of it, ojas, but what is it, like energy or something?
It's like a essence, like when all the tissues or elements of your body are well nourished, this is something which radiates from that. It's just like a aura, I can say.
A what?
Aura.
Aura.
Or essence. That's how Ayurveda has explained it. And signs of good ojas are, good enthusiasm, good immunity, ability to resist a disease, ability to heal yourself properly, and it is deteriorated if mostly when our digestive fire is being affected, when we don't convert the tissues. For example, sometimes we have less of bone tissue, more of fat tissue. All these things create obstruction to the formation of ojas, so it is not formed in the way it has to be formed. So what affects the digestive fire is also to be looked at. For example, if it is something like pitta or too much of heat, if someone enjoys eating pungent, sour foods, or like spicy foods, or anything which is more tangy in nature, then they are more prone to accumulate more of heat element or pitta element into their system. And you cannot use the same spices which we use like in the form of gin, garlic or cloves and all that thing. That could be a little bit more inflammatory in them. So spices which are good for inflammation are coriander seeds, cumin seeds, fennel seeds. So we have a very beautiful tea which kindles Agni in such cases. We call it as CCF tea, or a coriander, cumin and fennel seeds tea. The ratio is 2:1:1, so you have to always use 2 times the coriander seeds, the amount you use cumin and fennel seeds. Boil it with some water and then like a decoction, and strain and drink it. And this is excellent for it's anti-inflammatory, it kindles Agni, it is a good kidney detoxifier, and for people who have repeated urinary tract infections, which is mostly due to increased pitta element in our system, it's good for them as well. And irrespective of you have inflammations or not, this tea is very good to kindle your digestive fire. So very good to have it on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you. And also you mentioned sauces and gravies earlier.
So I particularly mentioned it in the context of not loading our digestive fire with too much of solid foods. When it's not so good, then probably if we just eat too much of solid, we may tend to drink a lot of water in between our meals. So to avoid that, Ayurveda recommends to have food in the form of a porridge consistency, wherein we eat our water and drink our food. So that's something to be included. So you chew the food so many times so that it becomes like a fluid, and then you can drink it and eat your water, like, have little sips of water, not just gulp it down through your, because it's a wrong conception that water need not be digested by your body. Water still needs to be digested by your body, so you cannot load your system without being thirsty. Don't keep gulping lots of water. That's what is Ayurveda recommends.
Does that put pressure on the kidneys when people gulp like 2-3 glasses of water in one go?
It puts pressure on kidneys, and also anything in excess is not good. So
exactly.
It also tends to affect the digestive fire, and also it is known to be a cause of knee pains as well. Too much of knee pain
really
comes with that, because it causes vata imbalance in the body.
Wow. My husband's got knee pain, and he sculls 2-3 glasses of water every morning. Is that why?
I think it's good to drink warm water, wherein you will not be able to drink too much. The idea to limit your water consumption, I would say, is to drink warm water, wherein it is self-limiting. You can have sips, and then you'll feel there's a satisfaction which comes with that, and your body feels good. No matter you gulp down bottles of cold water, still you don't get that satisfaction.
True. I remember everyone was doing it in the early 90s or late 80s. Remember the supermodel Elle Macpherson, the Australian supermodel? I remember her saying years ago, she said, wake up in the morning and have like massive, I don't know how many, but it was the equivalent of like 4 glasses of water. She said, scull that in the morning, and a lot of the supermodels were saying that back then, and everyone was doing it. I thought, that doesn't seem right. Like,
I think probably,
logically, it's
probably they may be killing their digestive fire, because too much of water consumption can again dilute our digestive juices, and if you're hungry and you drink water, then probably it just reduces your digestive fire. And that's not good. People think that not feeling hungry is good to lose weight. It's not like that. It gets you anything that Ayurveda recommends is taking into context long-term effects of it. So not temporary. Okay, temporary you have lost weight, but what about the long term? What complications you're going to get out of it? So everything is thought about in a well mannered. So it's not that they didn't know before, but then there's something they have thought it should not cause you problem even days after you have done those things. So that's why what the recommendations of Ayurveda are true till date, whereas the diets which come and go, we know plenty of them.
Exactly. And what about skipping meals? I understand a lot of people are skipping meals because they're busy and perhaps time poor at times. Just not eating all day and then eating in the evening. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this is also coinciding with the topic of intermittent fasting and all those things which people come up with. I feel, and what Ayurveda recommends, I'm going to talk only in terms of what Ayurveda recommends, is we do have a treatment called Langhana, which is fasting. And that is recommended when you don't feel like eating food or you're not hungry. There's a lot of toxins accumulated in your body, and your body needs to digest that. So in that case, fasting doesn't only mean that you're not having anything. It means that you can even have light and easy to digest food as well, in the form of soups. Not loading yourself with a lot of solid foods, and eating something which is cooked, or fruits, which are very easy to digest.
So is that considered fasting, just eating light and fruits?
And easy to digest for people who cannot stay hungry, like everybody can't starve. So that is recommended. And usually, like when you talked about skipping meals, when they do it, if they're hungry and they're still skipping, what happens is there would be that urge of hunger coming up, but because you suppressed it, it just keeps being suppressed. And then when you go home and cook that delicious meal, your body goes into that mode wherein I have starved for the whole day, and let me just eat everything now.
Right.
And we tend to eat more than what we could digest because we have starved, and body thinks that until tomorrow night you may not get food again. So it may tend to make you eat more than what is required for you.
So it can interrupt the hunger signals.
Basically, the urges, what we talk about in Ayurveda, are subtle signals of our body, which tells you that you need something or you need to get rid of something. For example, you want to pass bowel movements, or you want to urinate, or you are feeling hungry or thirsty. When we don't listen to them, then it starts affecting our body's intelligence. It's like you're not paying attention to it, or then your body is always involved in looking at you or making you stay healthy, but then you're not listening to its signals. Then I think there's a time when body gives up, and then we suffer from so many health ailments. So when we do this, we consume a large portion of meal or heavy dinners, then we don't feel hungry in the morning. So that's okay if you're not feeling hungry and you want to skip your meal because you're not hungry, that's fine. But the main meal should be had your lunchtime.
That's
and
right.
anything after sunset is not recommended to be good, because there's not much activity we do after that. And as we need, how we feel after we have lunch, we need some time to rest, because we cannot come into working mode all of a sudden. We need that 15-20 minutes break, because our body is a little bit lazy, lethargic after having food. So when you cannot work like enthusiastically after having food, the same kind of things after some time again, you start working, you get that energy and everything. Same thing happens at night. If you're on full stomach before going to bed, then you won't be able to sleep properly as well. So as empty stomach is required for performing well, it is also required to sleep well. People have this misconception of empty stomach means I'm hungry. No, there's a time gap. Your body can stay empty stomach for 4 to 6 hours as well without feeling hungry. But we have got used to that kind of feeling. Empty stomach, we need to feed. That's something I think we need to get out of those things, because empty stomach, we can do most of the things much properly and much enthusiastically.
Interesting.
But that doesn't mean you should not consume food because that makes you lazy. Yes, we do have that half an hour or 1 hour lunch break whenever we work, and it's good to take that time. If you don't want to eat too much, have a light meal. That should also be okay.
Say that.
But dinners should be lighter, and try to not overeat dinners. And once in a while your body will not react, but then if it keeps happening over a period of time, then we think that that's normal. The body also starts giving up, and then by the time it reflects in the form of ailment, it's too late.
Exactly. That's right. No, and I'll just reiterate what you said as well, and I like that notion. I've heard it recently as well, that the body's always trying to heal itself. Our body is so intelligent. It wants to come back to that point. What is it? That balance.
It's always looking forward to come back to that balance. But in today's world, we have the stress factor. It doesn't mean that in olden days they didn't have that. But I think a lot of that has to go with less physical activity, less time for too much of information going into our brain, like with the screen time and a lot of work, more of sitting job, because some amount of physical activity is definitely required for even mental health.
Yes.
So if that is not happening, people feel that I have worked all the day now, let me just sit on the couch and enjoy the TV and still add to that more information. There is no relaxing time. And we see that stress is such an important factor that, no matter how many diets you change, no matter how many things you follow, people are still struggling to be healthy, is because unable to deal with that stress. So I think it's time to realize that just addressing the diet or lifestyle is not going to make a difference. We also have to look at it at a broadest aspect, wherein what is the root cause? Because when a tiger being in front of us, we are afraid, but that is happening to us at every second. We are not able to meet the deadline. We are not able to perform until people's expectations, and then there is, I have to pick up my son, I have to go do this, all those things, especially with women. A lot of hormonal imbalances are coming into picture because of those aspects. So it's very important, as we care for our diet, lifestyle, it's also very important that we involve in those stress releasing activities. And Ayurvedic daily routine is all based on that aspect. The morning routine, when you look at it, every morning is a new beginning. There is a chance, or there is a opportunity for us to change the way we think every morning.
That's excellent.
How am I feeling? How how should I organize my day today? So those 5 minutes of our morning time, if we spend on that, I think it will help us to make more conscious decisions over compulsive decisions, and help us to plan the day in a better way. But on the contrary, if we think that we just wake up, half an hour to 1 hour before we go to work, then there's no time to do all these things. So probably morning routine, well begin is half done. So waking up early in the morning, I don't say that you should wake up 3 or 4, because that's something what Ayurveda recommends. Even I don't do that.
Really?
But then 4 is because that's the time of Brahma Muhurta, which is like a best time for meditation and focusing on what you want, and then it gives you a clarity. It supports your true intelligence, to connect with your true intelligence. But then at least if you're waking up at 8, then try waking up at 7. If 7, then 6.
Gradually.
That's a fair time to wake up. Of course, there are seasonal variations where you can wake up early or where you cannot. But then I think that's something to be considered, and try as much as possible, not to the extremes like, oh, I can't do all of this, so let me just forget about it. No. Medium pathway is something which is recommended. Not to be too much forceful on yourself. No, I have to wake up at 4. But then, let me try waking up at 6. Then let me just go easy on myself. So I think
that's
love.
a good point.
Love is the basis of self-healing, I would say. So don't be too much harsh on yourself, and take small
Great point.
steps.
Because we hear people, always that striving, people going to the gym and bench pressing and pushing too many heavy weights, or trying too hard, or trying to be too healthy, or trying to eat the right thing, and push, the struggle, the fight. It's so unhealthy.
It's so unhealthy. So that's what I said. Temporarily, you may see benefits, like you're losing weight, or like you have achieved one aspect, but then there is other aspect which is being compromised. Mental health issues is something which we need to be very much mindful of nowadays. And then we always said that women's menstrual cycles are more being affected because those things. Of course, you are not looking at menstrual cycles only in the form of reproducing, but then that is something which gives you energy, which improves your enthusiasm, which makes you a woman. It supports you when you are in your reproductive phase of life. So a balanced hormone can mean that you can function more effectively, more enthusiastically, and better at multitasking. And I think which all women want to do nowadays.
Yes. Well said. Thank you. Very, very wise. Very wise. Thank you. Any other things you'd like to share before we wrap it up this afternoon?
Yeah, some things to be included in the diet I would definitely recommend is regularly using ghee in your diet.
Ghee.
Yeah, so I have been stressing a lot on this aspect, because it's something which is good for your nerves. It soothes the nerves. It improves your digestive fire. Of course, it cannot digest the accumulated toxins, but we have other things like CCFD for that. But then regularly seasoning your food with ghee, or even drizzling a teaspoon of melted ghee on top of the khichdi. Have you heard of khichdi?
Yeah, remind me what that is. I've heard of it.
It's a one-pot meal made with rice and mung lentil put together and cooked together, and then mildly seasoned with a little bit of turmeric, ginger, ghee, cumin seeds, and a little bit of asafoetida. That is something which we use regularly in Indian cooking. And you can go variety with that, like you can add vegetables to that. And it's not that you should never use onion and garlic in your food. Yeah, you can use it in moderation, but of course if you have too much of inflammations in your body, then you should be mindful of using garlic in your diet. But then otherwise, once in sometimes, and then once in a while, or you can use it in moderation. That should be fine, because garlic is a good medicine.
Yes, I've heard it's our nature's antibiotic.
Yeah, so you can drizzle a teaspoon of melted ghee on hot cooked khichdi, That's just divine. So all of these aspects of food, what I'm talking about, we provide them at retreats at Ayurveda Village.
Yes.
Yeah, so I work with aspects of healing and Ayurveda Village.
Excellent.
So a part of our retreats is this wholesome food which we focus on.
Wow.
Because they come there to detox their body and their minds. So we always say that when the vessel is clean and the mind is clear, then the true spirit rises. That's what Katina, my boss, keeps saying. And that's how true that is.
How true.
So we do the treatments like massage, steam, and Shirodhara. You know, there are a couple of treatments which are actually helping you to connect with yourself.
Lovely, yeah.
The basis of these treatment is that it's not just relaxing, but then we give the clients the time to connect with themselves because they know what is the best for them.
Calm the mind.
And being unbiased of things, because you like something, you want to keep doing that. No, understanding the true thing, whether this is good for me or not. And that will only happen when the clients will connect with themselves. So we have the treatments. We have quite space because silence. People are afraid of silence nowadays.
Why?
Probably they don't like their own company.
Yeah.
But that is not something. We need that silence to give opportunity for ourselves to connect with ourselves. And then this food, wholesome food, which is freshly cooked and with some things like rice or mung beans, ghee, mildly seasoned spices, it's kind of supports the detoxification process. And in the evening they have mostly the soups, which is like a light dinner.
Right, yeah.
And this kind of a light diet supports the detoxification process. And they keep sipping in CCFTs in between, which is also a part of detoxification process.
CCFT, which is, I know you said it before, but if someone's tuned in later.
Yes, so CCFT is nothing but coriander, cumin, and fennel seeds tea.
Yep.
The ratio to remember is double the amount of coriander seeds.
Because it's more cooling.
Yeah. And also it is it actually digests or takes care of the accumulated toxins in our body. It is anti-inflammatory.
Really? Coriander?
Yeah, coriander seeds.
Takes toxins out of the body.
Yes, it digests it and gets rid of it.
That's what we want.
Yeah. Try it. It kindles your agni. You feel that, you know, if you're experiencing bloating or burning or kind of too much of gas and feel very lazy, lethargic after your lunch. I mean, very lazy because some amount of laziness does come. Then I think this is something which you should keep sipping in rather than any of the coffees or caffeine containing products. It just interferes with our healing system. So that is why we don't give these things in during the retreats. And there is yoga, meditation, all of the things which can help you to connect with yourselves. So it's a good nurturing space also there. So you have the right place, right things, right support to help you to connect with each other. So people who wish to come there is a good space for them. So it's a demonstration of what happens as a part of Ayurvedic healing. And we also do conduct cooking workshops there. So one coming up is next month. Yeah. So if people are interested in learning Ayurvedic cooking, simple recipes, because there are principles of Ayurvedic nutrition. You know, it's not just cooking with some things. Also knowing the things what you're cooking with. You know, whether it is heavy, whether it is light, whether it is compatible for me, whether it is wholesome for me, how can I have it? All these things are incorporated in cooking. So there are 8 principles of Ayurvedic nutrition, what we call it as knowing the food, whether it is heavy or light to digest, how you need to process it to be more comfortable for you, where it is grown. You know, we always talk about locally sourced foods, and people and who is eating it. And what is the time of eating it? Rules and regulations related to consuming food. Because if we are anxious, if we are stressed, and we consume food during that time, the necessary life force is not in the digestive system. It's being directed outwards. You know how we look at the tiger and we want to run? That time we don't feel hungry. So not just the tiger, but then if we are stressed, you know, that's the same situation which happens in our body. And if we eat during that time, then the food which we eat, no matter how wholesome it is, will not be digested properly by our body. So it's very important that a wise man or a wise person who wants to be healthy has to consume the food which is conducive for him in moderate quantities, and also mitashi sat kalabhuji, and the right time when you have to consume food. So if we are careful of these things, I think it's a key to good health. And also if you're recovering from some illnesses also, this is something we recommend to our clients.
That's right, and it helps people deal with like malnutrition and malabsorption. You hear a lot of people saying that they eat lots of red meat or spinach for iron, but they can't absorb iron. It's a lot of these things too.
Yeah, most of the
That
times
you've
that's what I
discussed.
say. Ayurveda doesn't say don't eat meat, but then
Yeah.
for people who crave for meat, if there have been people who have been having meat for all of their life long, then it's very difficult to get rid of it at once. So then this is something you can have it in the form of a soup instead of chunks.
Yes,
So
lighter.
you can, yeah, it's lighter on your body, and then because the food has to be eliminated out of your body within 24 hours. If it stays more than that, then it turns into toxins.
And you get the bad bacteria in the gut and that sort of thing.
So we have both healthy and
Yes,
good and bad
that's right.
bacteria in our gut.
Yeah,
But something stays there in for a long period of time, it helps the bad bacteria
right.
to grow.
Mm.
So then we have to keep taking probiotics and all those things. So
or do fasting, like you said, give your body a break.
it's good to do fasting. So if you want to do fasting, don't have dinner. That would be fine. But people would
Exactly.
starve whole day and just have dinner. Then that's something like
That's the
which is
problem.
not recommended, because it doesn't support your functioning, because you tend to eat more and there's nothing
Yes.
you do after that, and like it's just affects the channels of nutrition and the way your body's nourished, because
Yeah.
again you see that in spite of not eating too much, people tend to put on weight. Why
That's
is that
true.
happening?
And they say that we don't eat much. Why am I putting on weight? Why am I bloated? That's what people say.
Increase of stress hormones,
That's right.
which are doing all these things in our body. So for example, our adrenals are not functioning properly, our insulin is not functioning properly, and thyroid issues. So it need not necessarily come on the blood test, but then if you start feeling gain weight and all those things, if you start even showing the symptoms, that means you are suffering from hormonal imbalances in your body. So
That's right. And it's so important to have our hormones right. It affects our
So
mental
important.
state, our functioning of our body at a cellular level.
And it's very important to deal with the stress hormones,
Yeah.
because it takes time to clear them up from our system,
To
and
get
then
them out.
but we don't have enough time to do that. That is what retreats help you with.
Yes.
Giving that time to activate the parasympathetic nervous system and get slowly tuned down from that sympathetic overactivation.
Exactly.
So we need these quiet times to help us do that. If you can do it
100%.
on your own, nothing better than that. But if you need support, then of course we
Yeah.
are there to help you.
Thank you. Bless. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Anything
for
else
having me.
before I press the button?
Probably, I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Just take care of
Okay.
your digestive fire. So your immunity is there, your digestive system is happy, your immune system is good. You are staying healthy forever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Bless.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.